Hey guys, welcome to Little Black But Listen 91. I want to read something for you guys. I know a lot of people were thinking whether this Tyler Perry situation is them making it up, but listen, it's not looking good. Let me read something to you. Mr. Dixon did his best to tiptoe around Mr. Perry's sexual aggressions while keeping it on Mr. Perry's good side. Mr. Perry made it clear to Dixon that if Mr. Dixon ignored Perry or failed to engage with sexual innuendos, Mr. Dixon's character would die in the next season. Okay, you're probably thinking to yourself, you know what? It's all speculation right now. Cool. You know what? I'm hearing you. Indeed, Mr. Dixon's character Dale was shot 4 times in the chest at the end of the first season on the Oval, and Mr. Perry always held this over Mr. Dixon's head, implying that Dale would survive if Dixon kept Perry happy. Okay. Once Perry recognized the extent of a control he had over Mr. Dixon, he escalated his behavior on multiple occasions. Mr. Perry sexually assaulted Mr. Dixon, including one instance where he forcibly pulled off Mr. Dixon's clothing, groped his buttocks, and attempted to force himself on Mr. Dixon. Mr. Dixon told a drunken Perry no. He attempted to remove Mr. Perry's hands, but Mr. Perry held tightly onto Mr. Dixon's wrists, and Mr. Dixon was only able to escape after he de-escalated the situation by abruptly changing the subject. Look, when I read the text, I can't lie to you, I thought to myself, the text ain't really saying nothing. Do you know what I'm saying to you? The text seems like you guys are having a normal conversation. You're like, oh, cool. It seems like boss and colleague probably shouldn't have those conversations, but it happens. But that is from the court documents. Now I'm going to read some more of the court documents for you guys on this particular live and break it down. But listen, before we do, make sure you like, share, subscribe, click on that wonderful bell button for notification of the uploads. Let's keep it a buck and keep it true. Listen, I think this has been coming. I'm not going to lie to you. If I remember correctly, a couple of years ago, there was a couple rumors going around about his particular behavior from particular actors who had come out at a particular time, but no names were actually necessarily mentioned, but he was tied in. So when I say I'm not really surprised, I'm not surprised. Okay, I know we want to say, like, you know, they're taking all the black people down who are rich and powerful, and you're right, they are. I ain't gonna lie to you. The reality of the situation is a dirty game at the top, but that doesn't mean they're not doing anything. Okay, it does not mean they ain't doing nothing. So we need to be cautious about making it just they're taking a black man down. You know what I'm saying to you? Let's go to the very beginning. I'm going to read a little bit of this court documents for you guys, like I did with the DGG situation, so you guys can also see what's being said as well. Okay, so first of all, it says plaintiff. I'll skip apart. Hold on. Following complaint is pled on information and belief. The case arises from a sustained pattern of workplace sexual harassment, assault, and retaliation perpetrated by Mr. Tyler Perry, a powerful media mogul, against plaintiff Derek Dixon, a professional actor and screenwriter. Mr. Perry is an American actor, filmmaker, and playwright. Yeah, let's go. Okay, go. Mr. Perry took his success and power and used his considerable influence in the entertainment industry to create a coercive, sexually exploitative dynamic with Mr. Dixon, initially promising him a career advancement and creative opportunities, such as producing his pilot and casting him in his show, only to subject him to escalating sexual harassment, assault and battery, and professional retaliation when Mr. Dixon did not reciprocate. Damn. Mr. Perry's unwanted advances. These events occurred while Mr. Dixon was employed as a series regular on the Tyler Perry show, The Oval, and while Mr. Perry held direct control over his employment, compensation, and creative opportunities. Well, we've got a power dynamic right now. Let's call it a buck and call it a thing. We've got a power dynamic right now. Okay, all right. We've got a power dynamic right now where you are in a workplace and you are making advancements on your person, and if they're rejecting these advancements too, you're causing yourself issue. Tyler Perry rose against all odds to become one of the most powerful figures in the entertainment industry. His success story, once a symbol of perseverance and self-made achievement, has now become a cautionary tale of how unchecked power, wealth, and influence can corrupt even those who attain it. Among other contracts, Mr. Perry received a lucrative multi-year partnership with Oprah Winfrey Network. His net worth was $1.36 billion. Okay, cool. Let's just go this. Tyler Perry has been using his power and influence to molest and abuse and sexually and impressionable and vulnerable employees and actors who look to him for guidance and mentorship while pursuing their dreams. And so I want to go further down. Okay. Mr. Perry sought one thing his wealth and influence could not purchase: a sexual relationship with a man who would remain silent. Perry told Mr. Dixon that his ideal relationship would involve a male partner who he could provide for and who would be loyal but emotionally detached. Mr. Perry told Dixon, whoever ends up with me is going to be a happy mother In essence, Mr. Perry designed a one-sided coercive dynamic with a subordinate, an arrangement devoid of mutual consent and emotional reciprocity. Damn, baby. They said they're going to go deep. This was not Mr. Perry's first instance of sexual exploitation. He has demonstrated a troubling pattern of exploiting vulnerable male actors and employees, and leveraging his industry power to create a cycle of hope and dependency. First, he offers aspiring actors a prospect of career-defining opportunities, roles that promise visibility and advancement. And then once they're in a professional orbit, he uses the weight of his influence to ensnare them, positioning their success as contingent on meeting his demands. In a quid pro quo sexual compromise, this pattern of behavior reveals a calculated use of professional power for sexual leverage. Okay, let me read a bit more because obviously these are text messages as well. In such an exchange, Mr. Perry stated that he could fix things. Okay, let me just put this here. Because the actors, let me squeeze a little bit more. Hold on, there you go. The actors, because of the actors, Mr. Perry could say he could fix things because the actors of a show he was filming should all be scared because they were all shot at and we don't know who lives, meaning that Mr. Tyler Perry was going to use this as a tool to gain compliance with his desires. And then they've sent a picture of the messages. It says, obviously, that's what he said. He's putting the text, but I swear to you, I know how to fix this. I love killing a mother in a show that no one expects. You could be sipping my ties, counting coconuts right now. Mr. Dixon replied. Tyler Perry goes and say, I think the last episode they are all shot at. We don't know who lives. And then Mr. Dixon said, exactly. I'm scared. They should be too. And he's like, nope, they're not. Oh, man. Okay. Meaning that Mr. Tyler Perry was going to use as a tool to gain compliance with desires. Mr. Derek Dixon was Mr. Perry's desire ever since they became acquainted. Mr. Dixon was working as a part of event staff for a party hosted by Mr. Perry. When Perry noticed him, Perry immediately offered Dixon a chance to audition for a part in one of his TV productions. Dixon agreed and was on set with Mr. Perry behind the camera for weeks in close quarters. During the time they were filming, Mr. Perry would send flirtatious text messages to Dixon. For example, in one message, Perry stated that he was jealous when Mr. Dixon going on a walk with another man named Brad. Now, let me just stop here first and foremost. If you message me to tell me about you are jealous of another man that I'm with as a brother, okay, well, I'm not gay, so it's not gonna work the same way. But you know what I'm saying to you? I'm gonna be like, bro, you are out of control. Cut it out. You know I'm not gay. Stop it. You know what I mean? Cut it out. But I get it because people's work and livelihoods are on the line. But I also realize as well that that's how the devil gets you. The devil gets you in a space where it's like it's your dream versus your integrity, and then it puts you in a difficult position. So shout out to Mr. Dixon for not giving in to the wiles of the devil, because that's a devilish contract. You know what I'm saying to you? You give your buttocks over, it's over. You know what I mean? So Mr. Dixon agreed that he was on set with Mr. Perry behind the camera for weeks in close quarters. During the time they were filming, Mr. Perry would send flirtatious messages to Dixon. Okay, this is one of the flirtatious messages you sent. Why did that photo make me jealous of you two together? Dixon said, I don't know. It's just Brad. He said, Mr. Perry said, Mr. Perry said, low. And the guy said he just wanted to go for a quick walk to get his steps in. And now I'm walking to Chipotle by myself. Lol. And then, hey, Tyler Perry says, Tick Derek, get in that Chipotle. My God. Yeah, he's doing the most right now. But of course, again, at that point, nothing wild going for this thing, right? Those text messages are not saying anything too crazy. It looks consensual and mutual. In another text message, Perry stated to Dixon, what's it going to take for you to have guiltless sex? Mr. Perry, have y'all found that yet in therapy? You can have freedom from religious guilt and still believe in Christ. Now, Mr. Perry. Now, hold on now, Mr. Perry. Are you telling me that he can have guiltless and be free from religious guilt and still believe in Christ? How, sir? How? Which lets me know, listen, you are dangerous out here, bro. You are dangerous. How? You sound like a cult leader. Plaintiff carefully navigated a friendly demeanor to prevent the loss of income and opportunity on one hand, and on the other, a firm boundary against Mr. Perry's advancements. Often, when Mr. Perry started drinking, he would demand more attention from the plaintiff and get more aggressive with his flirting. On one such occasion, when Mr. Perry was drinking, he started becoming extremely annoyed when Mr. Dixon avoided him. Mr. Perry stated that of the 600 people in the phone book, he only wanted to talk to Mr. Dixon. Oh, you dropping them plays? Okay, all right. Damn, these texts are crazy. Says in the text it says, "Treat myself right. What are you doing, Derek?" And Derek then replies, says, "Just talking to my sister." He goes, "I roll. Fine. Good night. I'll go through the 600 people in my phone book and be annoyed that I don't want to talk to any of them." And then Derek says, "Trying to get off so I can go to sleep." Lol. He says, "Oh, I understand." Lol. He goes, "Lol. Apparently you're not the only one that's been drinking tonight." Mr. Perry goes, "I just started," and he said, "They didn't." Lol. Woof, baby. Dixon did his best to tiptoe around Mr. Perry's sexual aggression while keeping on Mr. Perry's good side. Mr. Perry made it clear to Dixon that if Mr. Dixon ignored Perry or failed to engage in sexual innuendos, Mr. Dixon's character would die in the next season. Indeed, Dixon's character Dale was shot 4 times in the chest at the end of the first season of The Oval. And Perry always held this over Mr. Dixon's head, implying that Dale would survive if Dixon kept Perry happy. Once Perry recognized the extent of control he had over Mr. Dixon, he escalated his behavior. On multiple occasions, Mr. Perry sexually assaulted Mr. Dixon, including one instance where he forcibly pulled off Mr. Dixon's clothing, groped his buttocks, and attempted to force himself on Mr. Dixon. Damn. Mr. Dixon told a drunken Perry no and attempted to remove Mr. Perry's hands, but Mr. Perry had held tightly onto Mr. Dixon's wrists. Mr. Dixon was only able to escape after de-escalating the situation by abruptly changing the situation. Okay, this is so now that's now we see the text. One can say anything, but let me tell you this now. That is now a next step. When you've done something physically, okay, and you are touching, pulling, trying to initiate sex before this is concerning. The day after the assault, Mr. Perry called and texted Mr. Dixon relentlessly saying, "Tried you." The day after the assault, this is how you know he's deadly. The day after the assault, Mrs. Perry called and texted Mr. Dixon relentlessly saying, "Tried you, call me, and I really need to talk to you. Please call as soon as you can." Finally, when Mr. Dixon answered Tyler Perry's call, Mr. Perry profusely apologized for the sexual assault while blaming it on other things. Mr. Perry continued, he didn't know why he did that. Maybe he was self-sabotaging on the very same call where he apologized for the self-assault against Dixon. Where was the self-sabotage? In what way were you self-sabotaging? In what way were you self-sabotaging? Because there's no self-sabotage here. You're not in a relationship. Perry told Dixon, "And don't worry, we're going to do your show," referring to the pilot that Perry knew Mr. Dixon had desperately wanted to produce. Also, he dangled a carrot as well about how, you see, because you have to ask yourself also, sometimes you have to wonder, like, why people are staying there, because there has to be a reward for why you stay there, right? Because, of course, the money's an issue, of course, the job there, but you have something else also. Like, you see, when the devil wants to get you and dangle carrots in your face like this in the industry, there's something like this happening. So there must be an exchange. And in this instance, you have a show you want to produce and you think that Tyler Perry can produce it. But the moment he starts giving those advances, he no longer can go on with you. Like at that point, he no longer is a person you can trust with your particular project or whatever at that point, you know? So for me personally, I'm like, yo, if anybody's watching this, like, it's a lesson to learn. The moment they start trying to offer themselves to you, there's a law case where you need to put a law case in, a sue, start suing or whatever, start gathering evidence, because baby, these people out here, they don't care about you and they don't care about taking you down. You know what I'm saying to you? Like, but don't let them dangle that carrot in your face, like, hey, we'll do this for you, but just do this. Like, when they start doing that, Perry told Dixon, "And don't worry, we're going to do your show." Okay, shortly after, Miss Dixon got a call from Tyler Perry's lawyer saying that Christmas had come early and that Mr. Dixon was getting a substantial raise, and the show was greenlit. Perry's attorney explicitly warned Dixon not to tell any other actor on the show about Dixon's raise because no other actors were getting a raise. Oh. Perry kept telling Dixon that he was sorry and the harassment would not happen again. However, the harassment and assaults continued. Mr. Perry would also try to deflect the blame for the sexual assault by saying that Dixon didn't have a strong enough no. Damn it. The text says, "Nice. Santa Monica is nice. I'm glad you're out here. How is a no? How is your no? Is it stronger? You got to have a stronger no." He said, "Yes, it's strong. My mom literally thinks I'm going to sell my soul to Illuminati. She heard Kanye say that it's real." Tyler Perry says, "Well, I don't think that, but I do think that you have to be able to say no and mean it and make it clear." Oh boy said, "I only say yes if it gets me an Oscar." Now, Mr. Dixon, Now, Mr. Dixon, what the hell? Mr. Dixon, why? I'm not trying to victim blame, but I'm just trying to get to Mr. Dixon. Why are we saying yes? Why are we saying yes, we could if it's for an Oscar? Ah, don't let the devil get you into a place like this, boy. Yeah. Wow. Tyler Perry then goes on, well, the only one who could have gotten that for you through sex is in prison. So just stick to the no unless you really need to, unless you're really into him. Smiley face. Boy, oh boy. Okay. Perry told Dixon that you're gonna have to be able to say no to propositions for sex and mean it and make it clear. Dixon did not know how to answer without facing retaliation, cancellation of his product contact, or perhaps being killed off the show. So instead, Dixon made a joke out of the situation, saying, "I only say yes to sex if it gets me an Oscar." Okay, I mean there are responses like that when it comes to a fearful situation. So there are responses like that. You know what I mean? So to be fair, that can be a situation as well. That can be where people befriend rather than actually fight or flight. Yeah, that's also a response to those kind of things. So I have to be open to it and say that can also be the case. In response, Tyler Perry stated that the only one who could have gotten that Oscar for you through is in prison. Just stick to the no unless you're really into him. Emphasis added. Perry reveals that these text messages that no he was referring to was Dixon's no to sex in exchange for promotion in the industry, classically known as a quid pro quo sexual harassment. Perry sent this message to Dixon because this is exactly what Tyler Perry was doing. At some point, Dixon left Atlanta and moved to Santa Monica to create distance from Tyler Perry. However, even at long distances, Mr. Perry continued to sexually harass Mr. Dixon. Damn, Tyler, you ain't got a message? You ain't got a whole message? Yeah, bro, you a dangerous brother. You a real dangerous brother, bro. Plaintiff Derek Dixon is an individual who resides in the state of California. Okay, we don't need to know. Okay, cool. Let me skip past this part. On information, belief on one or more defendant is the full or partial parent owner of the contract. Okay, this is else. I want to get this. I think this is. I think that's part. I'm just going to skip past this part because this part we spoke about this part. Man, damn. Factual allegations. In around September 2019, plaintiff worked for an event company called Legendary Events in Atlanta that was hired to organize defendant Perry's studio opening party. The party. Plaintiff was recruited by Tony Conway, the owner of Legendary Events and close friend of Tyler Perry. Now, this is why it's very interesting because I want to be honest with you, okay, as well, right? Which is friendships in this thing, people tend to flock together. Because I'm telling you now, if I know that you are doing this to people, I can't be your friend, and I can't send people to you willingly. That's like sending a lamb to the slaughter, bro. You know what I'm saying to you? Anyway, Mr. Conway decided to place Dixon directly in a role at a party that required frequent conversation with Mr. Tyler Perry. Okay, so Mr. Conway done set his ass up. Defendant Perry picked plaintiff out of the crowd of employees present at the party and began asking plaintiff questions about his employment status and whether plaintiff was an actor. In around early October and on the last day of the party, defendant Perry insisted that he and plaintiff exchanged phone numbers, and Perry subsequently texted plaintiff to introduce himself. Perry began by asking Dixon about his dreams and aspirations. So this is how he got a hold of of Mr. Dixon, right? This is how he got a hold of him. It was through an agency, and then obviously he was front facing, and then obviously Tyler Perry then, yeah. So Dixon then told Perry that he was interested in acting and writing. Perry then told Dixon to do an audition over the phone and sent it to Perry. Dixon told Perry he was at a Halloween party. Perry asked to see pictures of Dixon in a costume, and Dixon complied. When Perry saw the pictures, he texted Dixon, "I was going to say, your cowboy needs a sugar daddy." Perry continued with, "You look great. You're just lacking some costume parts." "Sorry, don't want to offend," Dixon responded. "Not at all. It's so true. Half-assed costume." To which Perry replied, "What's true? Cowboy needs a sugar daddy?" implying that Perry wanted to be Dixon's sugar daddy. Dixon quickly shut down those comments by reiterating what he had said earlier, that the truth was he was lacking costume parts. Man. Shortly thereafter, Dixon's boss at Legendary Events called Dixon and told him that Tyler Perry was having another event in Los Angeles and specifically wanted Mr. Dixon to fly from Atlanta to Los Angeles to work on an event. Excited for the opportunity to fly to Los Angeles, Dixon was flattered and jumped on the opportunity to meet Mr. Tyler Perry again. Shortly after doing the event, on November 3rd, 2019, defendant Perry sent plaintiff several text messages. They would love to find plaintiff a job and change plaintiff's life, insisting that he should make it happen. Perry sent Dixon what turned out to be an ominous warning: be careful hanging around me. Now, let me tell you this now, as a man, and we all know that when a man then tells you, be careful of me, he's trying to ruin your life. I'm just going to be honest with you. You know what I mean? As men, we know this. So as a man, I'm sure he should know. But let me be honest with you. Okay, let me be honest with you. A man tells you, listen, you should be wary of me. You probably should be wary of him. Why is he prompting you like he's a bad villain character? You know what I'm saying to you? Be wary of him. Yeah, you got to be careful out here in these streets. You know what I'm saying to you? Be careful hanging around me. I cause dreamers to dream bigger, he said. So be careful hanging around me. I cause dreamers to dream bigger. I cause them to not only believe, but do. Then let's make it happen. You're an artist. You have to be fulfilled. Nothing else will suffice. The very next day, defendant Perry sent an email which contained an offer for the plaintiff, played the role of Dale in Perry's television series Ruthless. Perry said it was a small role that could get a lot bigger, thereby setting up the first stage in a series of escalating quid pro quo offers. At a point, Dixon did not know that Perry was interested in men or that he was looking for a sexual relationship. Fair enough. Dixon assumed that Tyler Perry was genuinely a caring person who discovered that talent that Dixon always felt he had. Dixon filmed his roles in Ruthless in mid-November and went back to his job as an event star for Legendary Events. Approximately 1 month later, Perry bought and gave Dixon a new car because he hated Dixon's Jeep. Dixon was surprised and elated. Dixon had no idea he was being set up by Perry for extreme dependence. You know what it is, yeah? You know what it is? I want to be honest with you. You know, it's dangerous out in these streets. That's what I'm going to tell you. It's dangerous out in these streets, right? Because obviously the gift is a way in. Do you know what I'm saying to you? But you know what it is? I think also the trauma that a lot of us have gone through, some of us our senses will be telling us this doesn't feel right because of some of the trauma we've been through. Some of us are hypervigilant. We've been through some stuff. You know what I'm saying to you? You know what I mean? So for me personally, my trauma would be telling me this doesn't feel right. Why is he buying me a whole car? Da, da, da. And you know what I'm saying to you. So the moment you start saying something like, hey, you can take your car back, but that's just my trauma. So I understand. Dixon filmed his roles in Ruthless in mid-November and went back to job in an event star for Legendary Events. Approximately 1 month later, Perry bought and gave Dixon a new car because he hated Dixon's Jeep. And Dixon had no idea he was being set up by Perry for extreme dependence. Now, how are you getting set up for extreme dependence? Okay, let me find out. In December 2019, Dixon was requested to be part of an event staff at another event at Perry's home in Jackson Hole, Wyoming. And after that event, Perry started frequently sending text messages, making phone calls, and demanding that Dixon give Perry some attention. Okay, so at this point, when he's starting to you haven't at this point, you're still working at Legendary Events. I guess I have to ask a question. If he's now sending you text messages and harassing you at that point, why do we go further with him? That's my part. I want to be honest. You know what I mean? I don't want to just believe, you know what I'm saying to you. What is it that you decide? Why did you just have to go further? See, and I think this is very similar to if we can talk about the Cassidy situation and talk about like when people have something that they want, like you're willing to give up your integrity. And I'm like, why? Because at this point, you know what I mean? Like I'm trying to figure out what that is about. You know what I'm saying to you? So we got to read it like that, you know? Okay. So December 2019, Dixon was requested to be part of the event staff. Yeah, okay. On New Year's Eve 2019, Taylor Perry texted Dixon, I can tell you the last time I pumped gas or went to the supermarket or fly commercial or packed a bag or had a good sex. It was before I was rich. Okay, so he's starting what we call, he's starting the baited stuff, right? You know, when you start baiting, you know, you start throwing things in there. You know what I mean? You start throwing a little Yeah, that's it. Tyler Perry's like, he likes to party. He like, if you don't say no, he gonna drag you into some mess, broski. Oh man, you know what I mean? AR said, being willing to give up your integrity is victim blaming, coach. I hear it. I hear it. I hear it. You know what I mean? But you have to, like, if you're in this, if certain people like this, they enjoy that process of you giving up your integrity. They enjoy it. They want you to. Like, people like this, it's a power thing for them. So it's like they want you to give up your integrity. You get what I'm saying to you? So yeah, it's like they want you to give it up. Yes. Okay, someone said allegedly. Let's say allegedly. Allegedly, yeah. I mean, I'm just reading what the thing says. So it's not even allegedly, because that's what's in the court documents. This is not. This is a factual document. You know what I mean? Like, doesn't mean it's true. Doesn't mean that's necessarily proven. But this is the documents. Dixon found these messages to be strange and untowardly coming from someone like Tyler Perry. But being new to the industry, Dixon played along with the downplaying the sexual comments and hoping that being around Perry would allow him to showcase his talents as an actor and a writer. Now, this is where I think, for me personally, this is where this is where I say that there has to be some accountability, right? Because as a grown individual, if someone is now making advances towards you and you're trying to get what you want to get out of them, but they're only willing to give you that thing if you're willing to exchange, at that point you have to stay. You can't tell me that you don't know what you're doing at that point. That's the part I'm like, I'm not. By the way, either way. Hey, I think Tyler Perry, what he's doing is abusing his power. I'm not saying he's not abusing his power. He is. But at some point, I'm looking at him going, hold on a minute. He's making advances at you. And it's not like you were already in the job. You weren't already in a job. You had a job, and then he's now pushing advancements towards you. At that point, okay, you've got to be able to, like, okay, hold on. My dream can't not be more important than what's going on here, because he's trying to draw me into something. He's making sexual advances towards me, and can I just ignore it? Like, you know what I'm saying to you? The man then be telling women that they shouldn't be doing this, right? The man then be telling the girl them, okay, yeah, the man then be telling the woman that if a man is making proposals to you, you don't have to take the job. And then are we gonna let's? You know what I'm saying to you? Like, hey, Tyler Perry should still go down. Like, he's abused people. It seems like he's abused people allegedly. You know what I'm saying to you? But I'm just saying, like, in this instance, before we get to that place, it's a slippery slope. And the slope is, if you know that person's making advances, I've got to be like, hey, I can't go down this lane with you anymore, because I recognize that what you're offering now is now tainted. Do you get what I'm saying to you? So that's what I'm saying. I'm looking at, like, okay, you know what I mean? You know, because he's not in the job just yet. He had one job, but he was no longer playing that role anymore, or at least he wasn't still in the role as such in that place. But because he's like wants to showcase his talents, that for me is code word for I wanted to get what I wanted to get out from. You know what I'm saying to you? Like, showcasing your talent sounds like code word for I wanted to take what I wanted to take from the situation. I know you're trying to get something out of me. I'm going to get something out of you first. But hey, like I said, this game's a game. Soon after Dixon began giving Perry more attention, Perry made his move on Dixon in January 2020. Just a few months after his first acting gig, Perry invited plaintiff to his home in Douglasville County, Georgia. Plaintiff showed up to the home hoping that he would be given a chance. Huh? Wait, what? What's this? Plaintiff. Sorry. Perry invited plaintiff to his home in Douglasville County, Georgia. Plaintiff showed up to the home hoping that he would be given a chance to befriend Perry and show him how talented an actor Dixon was. What? At Perry's home, Dixon was served many alcoholic drinks with Perry also partook in. Dixon felt that Perry was genuinely interested in Dixon's talents and actor and right. No, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Wait. I'm so sorry. Hold on a minute. No. Because this is no. Come on. Come on. I remember someone was gay, right? And they inappropriately touched me, and I didn't like the way they touched me. And I remember he was always trying to invite me to his house, like, because to be cool and stuff, innit? And I always declined. And I declined because just like you know, if someone's gay, they have an affection, an affection towards men. Cool, I got no problem with that, right? But I'm a man, So now I have to look at it from that perspective. Like, if I know that it's the way you've acted towards me has not been pure, I can't come and turn up at your house. Do you see what I'm saying to you? I'm not going to come up and turn up at your house. I'm so sorry. I'm not going to turn up at your house. You know what I mean? Now, of course, it doesn't eradicate that Tyler Perry has been abusive. I just want to make it very clear as to someone else, as in why you shouldn't be this. You shouldn't allow yourself to get into a situation where you're willing to compromise something for this. You know what I'm saying to you? You know what I mean? He's already making sexual advances towards you. Why would you then turn up at his house? Plaintiff showed up at the house hoping that he would be given Perry invited Plato to his house in Douglasville County, Georgia. Plato showed up to the home hoping that he would be given a chance to befriend Perry and show him how talented the actor Dixon was at Perry's home. Like I said, my trauma makes me think this way. So I have to be honest. My trauma makes me feel this way. You know what I'm saying to you? But I'm just thinking to myself, I have to be honest. You want something. That's why you're willing to ignore what's happening to you. And you're willing to go past that. I have to be that's my thought process. But that doesn't mean that Tyler Perry's off the hook. No. You can still be in trouble. You know what I mean? It's just a precautionary tale for anybody else. At Perry's home, Dixon was served many alcoholic drinks, which Perry also partook in. Dixon felt that Perry was genuinely interested in Dixon's talents and as an actor and a writer. Perry made no sexual advances at Dixon while they were drinking, and the conversation was friendly. At the end of the night, Perry told Dixon not to drive home. Perry said it was dangerous that Dixon was too inebriated to drive home. Dixon agreed and was escorted to a separate guest room, not knowing that this was a ruse to allow Perry to assault Dixon. Okay, now this is where if this is true, this is where Perry's gonna mess up. Dixon was tired and did not have pajamas, and so he got into bed only wearing underwear. Before he knew what was happening, Dixon felt someone slip into bed behind. Now this is where Now this is where Tyler Perry. I don't care what doesn't matter what else. Now this is where Tyler Perry gonna get himself in trouble. Okay, this is where Tyler gonna get himself in trouble. And started rubbing Dixon's body around his inner thigh in a highly sexual and suggestive manner. Dixon turned around and saw that Tyler Perry was in bed with him. At this point, Dixon's stomach started to turn and he began to feel nauseous. Instinctively, Dixon jumped out of bed and told Tyler Perry that he wasn't that sexual. Tyler Perry ignored the comments and told Dixon to turn around so Perry could see him naked in his underwear. Perry then commented on how beautiful Dixon's body was. Dixon once again told Perry that he was not intersex. Dixon kept informing Perry that he was not intersex in order to keep Perry at bay, while at the same time not insulting a person who was dangling his career in front of him. In response to Dixon's frequent assertions that Dixon was not intersex, Perry started prying further. Perry would send Dixon a text message saying, "I would hope that you would let someone hold you and make love to you." Man, this is diabolical. "You are missing the best parts of your life. My friend, trust me, I hope you get past that block in your mind soon." Perry was implying that Dixon would hopefully get past the block in his mind and would let Tyler Perry make love to him. God have mercy. Ugh. After the assault in January, Dixon felt betrayed. Perry continued to call or text Dixon every day, asking to talk to him more. Dixon ignored Perry, which led Perry to text Dixon back, "Derek, why don't you text me more?" The more Dixon ignored Perry, the more aggressive Perry became, until finally Perry offered Dixon a part in a new show called The Oval. Now, this is the devil's deal. Okay, I'm sorry. At this point, this is the devil's deal. This is the devil's deal. Okay. Now I let the house thing. I already said the house thing. He should have never been there in the first place. But okay, you got the house thing. Tyler Perry has. If he touched you without asking and got into bed without asking, that is a violation and that is a crime. Okay. That I'm not gonna debate that according to the documents, right? But if he now offers you a deal after he's done what he's done to you, at this point, you can't take this deal. Okay. Dixon was intrigued, was hoping that this would be his big break that he was looking for and a chance for him to display his acting talent. Why do we keep going back to him thinking about he's going to have a big break? You know what I mean? Why does this have to be why is your big break involved with somebody offering you? It's a quid pro quo situation. You know what I'm saying to you? He was looking for a chance to display talent. On February 11, 2020, Perry told Dixon to quit his job at Legendary Events and come work exclusively for Perry. Perry was not able to control Dixon so long as Dixon had a secondary income that was providing for his basic needs. Once Dixon quit his job due to his role on the Oval, Perry started getting more and more personal with Dixon, knowing that Dixon was now under his control. Now, listen, Tyler Perry is a dark, dark artist. Okay, all right, very, very dark. I want to be very honest with you, very, very dark for what he did because he knows that's the game. Okay, he knows that's a game. Once he got him off that, the income on his first income, he knew what he's doing. Okay, so if that is according to what's true, according to the documents, that's a messy aspect. Now, I want to be also honest as well. Okay, all right, I want to be also honest as well. This situation, this situation here, the once willing to get your big break at the expense of selling yourself, you don't want to do that, bro, because now you're in trouble. Perry would often say things like, I give and I give and I give, and no one ever does. Not everyone does anything for me in return. No one gives me what I want or what I need. That sounds like very dark thoughts. Whew. That sounds very dark thoughts. Implying that Mr. Dixon was not giving him sex. Perry started asking Dixon about Dixon's sexual preferences and what role Dixon took on when engaging in sexual acts, whether he was a top or bottom, which in sexual terms means, yeah, we know that. Perry further indicated to Dixon that he had sex with men before and that he was a top. Perry further told Dixon that when you have to hit the G right on these bottoms. Damn, I'm sorry, I read that. Perry further told plaintiff that he wanted a man who was in a relationship with another individual, but with whom he could emotionally be involved and engage in sex with, like a friend with benefits relationship, because Perry did not have the time to deal with an emotional aspect of a relationship, only the physical. I mean, at least the guy was honest about what he's looking for in this aspect. He's just manipulative. You know what I mean? Despite these comments, Dixon knew that a full-throttle refusal would land him in doghouse and might result in his role being cut on the Oval. Fearing that his career would end before it began, Dixon put up these comments and continued to maintain that he was not the sexual type. On or around March 2020, Dixon received the script for the Oval. He was written in as a season regular and therefore expected to quit his job with Legendary Events. Brother, at some point, you've got to think this is a deal with the devil. And at that point, why would you play with the devil? Again, I want to make it very clear. Tyler Perry is wrong for the manipulation he's doing, and according to the documents, right? According to documents and what we're seeing, and if it be proven true, he can go to jail. You know what I'm saying to you? He can go to jail. I'm just trying to do it for you personally. Why are you staying in that? You know what I mean? This character was written as a gay, homeless, and desperate store clerk who had to sleep with one of the other characters for a place to stay. Damn, Tyler Perry be dangerous, boy. He would write in real life stories on you. That is disgusting. Tyler Perry is like, he writes out scripts that he's lived and done himself. That's More importantly, at the end of the season, his character will be 4 times in the chest. Dixon felt that this is a way for Perry to test Dixon out for the year and see if he will be loyal to Perry. When Dixon asked Perry about the shooting, Perry indicated that if Dixon did a good job, Dixon will be back, and that shooting didn't necessarily mean that Dixon's character was out of the script for future seasons. Perry commented that Dixon's character was only shot in the chest, not in the head. Dixon immediately understood that his job security depended on his relationship with Mr. Perry. From this point on, Dixon worked with constant fear of losing his job if he did not engage with and endure Perry's sexual harassment. I hear it. That's political. Shortly after giving Dixon this news and after telling Dixon that the future seasons were dependent on Dixon doing a good job, Tyler Perry invited Dixon to his home in Atlanta. Damn. Plaintiff asked questions and tried to wiggle his way out of the invitation because he remembered what happened the last time the two were alone. However, Plaintiff knew that his job, security, income, and livelihood depended on his attendance. Plaintiff has seen other employees of Perry who had experienced sudden deaths on the show when they fell on Perry's bad side. Yeah, Tyler Perry's dangerous, boy, according to the documents. In fact, Perry had made it clear to Dixon that he would often kill off characters in order to get an actor to be loyal or obedient. When Mr. Dixon arrived at the house, Tyler Perry gave Dixon a warm welcome and was very friendly. Soon after, Tyler Perry started asking Dixon a slew of sexual charge questions, even asking if Dixon liked it in bed. Woo, baby. Perry then physically reached out and violently grabbed Mr. Dixon's throat, attempting to physically choke Dixon, and remarked, "Wow, look how excited you just got. Wow, do you do like that? Wow, hey, whoo, Hey. E. Oh Lord. Man, Dixon was horrified, shocked, and in a panic. Dixon never thought that Tyler Perry could get so violent and would place hands on Dixon's throat in a sexually aggressive manner. Dixon did not enjoy or consent to any of this conduct. Dixon was in shock, took steps immediately to de-escalate the situation. Due to the onset of COVID-19 pandemic in March 2020, filming for The Oval was postponed indefinitely. During the period in which filming for The Oval was postponed, Tyler Perry would make FaceTime calls and other contacts with Dixon almost every day, treating Dixon as his on-call pet. Dixon felt obliged to answer for the fear of losing his role, income, and career. Perry often asked about Dixon about his whereabouts, often demanding that Dixon respond immediately. When he didn't, Perry would send text messages to Dixon stating, Derek, grr, and what are you doing? Additionally, Perry was jealous of anyone who Dixon had a relationship with. Tyler Perry told Dixon that if Dixon got COVID-19 from his roommate at the time, Dixon would not be able to shoot the Oval. Perry encouraged Dixon to move into one of the on-set studios houses owned by Perry, where Perry would have more control over Dixon's whereabouts. Therefore, Perry would text plaintiff about other actors on the show Ruthless. Perry told Dixon how he manipulated employees through ruthless retaliation. Perry told Dixon that if he did not like the way an actor behaved or the way the actor was acting, the character would simply die in season 2. Damn. So what? Tyler Perry was just exposing that. So where's the evidence? Because if he's or is he calling you? Because is he just calling you when he's telling you this stuff? Right at this point, you're doing screenshots. I'm expecting you to be doing some video calls too, but of course you can't do that's illegal. But I'm just saying. Dixon understood that Perry was informing understood that Perry was informing Dixon to be cautious about disappointing or upsetting Perry. As a result, Dixon continued to put up with Perry's suggestive messages and sexual advances while doing his best to protect himself by taking notes and amassing the evidence of sexual harassment and keeping old text messages. In one conversation in or around April 2020, Perry Dixon told Dixon that Perry imagined Dixon prancing around in a cowboy outfit, and Perry did things to Dixon that he couldn't talk with Dixon about any further because they're so wrong. In around April 2020, while Dixon was living in a studio's homes on set, Perry often coerced Dixon to drink alcohol and get on the phone with Perry. Perry would frequently have some drop off alcohol at Dixon's door. My God. What? Damn. In around April 2020, and while Dixon was living in home studios on set, Perry often coerced Dixon to drink alcohol and then get on the phone with Perry. Perry would frequently have someone drop off alcohol at Dixon's door. Perry would eventually turn these phone calls into sexually explicit rants. Perry would get frustrated with Dixon and tell Dixon that he was not giving Perry what he needs. Dixon refusing to succumb to Perry's sexual advances caused Perry to be even more frustrated. Eventually, Perry warned Dixon that if Dixon told his classmates about the harassment, Dixon would be opening himself up to lots of questions and foolishness, and demanded that Dixon not discuss any of the conversations with his classmates. Oh, damn, we got evidence right here. Perry upped the stakes by telling Dixon point blank that he was not to tell anyone about their friendship. Perry told Dixon that it should all remain a secret and tried to make it seem as though the secret was for Dixon's benefit. In the text message, it says, listen to me. If you let the cast know that you and I have a new friendship, then you're opening yourself up to a lot of questions of foolishness. You want them to know that you are here because you are a talent. Okay. Oh, okay. Okay. And not because we have a friendship or because Tony got me to give you a job. Bomber clot. Bomber clot. You earned your spot like everyone else. Don't give people an opportunity to play you small or they will. I can't teach you everything. Unfortunately, there are some things you have to learn for yourself because when we go back to work, I'm not going to know you. I don't have any friends that work for me, my friend. Professionalism is key. He's Thing said you're totally right. He's like, I hope you got it, my friend. He said that totally makes sense. Just watch the behavior of everyone around me on set. He's like, yeah, I will. Don't want to give anyone an opportunity because work is work. Yeah, but you're texting me and it's not work, bro. Perry told Dixon that it should all remain a secret and tried to make it seem like the secret was for Dixon's benefit. Perry continued to harass Dixon on June 27, 2020. Defendant Perry texted Dixon that all he wanted for his birthday were biscuits and BJs. Wow. Referring to, yeah, I know what that means. But all all Perry ever wanted were biscuits, insinuating yeah, we know that. The text was followed by other messages calling Dixon cute, cutie, and that he's thinking, that Perry was just thinking about Dixon. Despite these advances, Dixon continued to act professionally. What's going on? Okay. Perry, despite all these advances, Dixon continued to act professionally and continued to tell Perry that he was not sexual. That seemed to be the only way of keeping Perry at bay while keeping his job. In 2020, Perry remarked how often he loved the script for Dixon's television series called Losing It, and explained that he wanted to shoot the pilot for it. Perry would never really work towards that goal, and what Perry was really doing was making Mr. Dixon more dependent on Perry so that Perry could later extract sexual favors from Dixon as a quid pro quo to produce the pilot. Wow. In around August 2020, Dixon and his castmates began shooting for Oval after delays due to COVID-19 pandemic, during the time which all castmates and crew lived in a studio set in quarantine bubble. Okay. The text message said, "But I swear to you, I know how to fix." Oh, we read that one. Shortly after, Perry confided in Mr. Dixon that 2 cast members were pissing him off, and that Perry swore that he would know how to fix this. Perry swore that he knew how to fix it, and Perry added that he loved killing them in a show that no one expects. He was going to shoot them all. Shot and kill them as in characters, referring to kill off characters in the Oval, played by actors who Perry wanted to retaliate against. More importantly, Perry stated in one text message, "I may need to shoot the shoot out early," which Dixon understood to mean that unless the actors knew they were going to die and their time on the show was over, they wouldn't change their ways. Perry was going to film the shoot out early so that the actors would be more submissive to Perry's requests. Perry intentionally made these comments to instill fear in Mr. Dixon. Mr. Dixon now knew that he too would lose his job if Mr. Dixon did not play ball with Perry's harassment. This is what Perry had been setting up. Dixon was now fully reliant on Perry for his income, hope, and future aspirations. Perry made it clear that Dixon was not to disclose the relationship to anyone, and Dixon was aware that Perry would kill him off a good show, thereby ending his career. If Mr. Dixon got onto Perry's bad side, to top it all off, Dixon already knew that his character was shot 4 times at the end of the season. Okay, cool. July 2020, Perry read the script of Dixon's pilot and told Dixon he loved the show so much he wanted to shoot a pilot for Dixon. Dixon did not know that Perry never intended on shooting the show. Perry knew that he could use the motivation of shooting Mr. Dixon to show Dixon to do what Dixon had been resisting for months, which was to give Perry the sexual gratification Perry so craved. Once the stage was set, Perry knew he could get away with sexual harassment. During the filming of the Oval 2020, Perry engaged in severe and perversive tirade of sexual commentary, including not limited to that Dixon liked being choked, and why do you twist your hips when you walk? How can I get a day of Dixon? When will you be thick again? I love how I feel right now. I don't want to be. I feel sorry for the person who flirts with me. I've been trying to put that energy somewhere else, but everything's on the stuff. The snake across the table made me think of photo Nicki Minaj from the music. Anaconda, damn, I will gladly choke you right now, referring to Perry's a suggestion that Dixon should get braces between his teeth, but a plaintiff would have to give up. Jeez. That's when you're thick, Derek, fun Derek, drunk Derek, before COVID. I miss him just without a but. Ooh, okay, let's move on because the baby it's a lot. Okay. All right. It's a lot. That's what I'm gonna say. Why did the photo make me jealous? You two together. Oh, this is the Brad situation. The Brad one where he's like, he's jealous of Brad. He wants to go for a quick walk to get steps in. Now I'm walking to Chipotle by myself. I read this part already, but and no, I can't only from your jeans. Damn. You know what? Yeah. And the guy was in therapy too, boy. The series of comments and other unwanted sexual references by Dixon made Dixon highly uncomfortable. Dixon was caught in a bind. He could not complain to anyone in HR. He had nowhere to turn for relief from sexual harassment, and he knew that if he did not endure it, he would be killed off by the Oval. Dixon was unsure whether to joke back or rebuff Perry's sexual harassment, so he endured it, knowing that his job was on the line if he did not engage. Perry would also share intimate data of his own life with Dixon, among other things. Perry would tell Dixon that he hadn't had a good since he became rich, and that there were certain times he had not been touched in months. On the second day to last day of shooting for Oval, Dixon filmed the episode where his character was shot 4 times, indicating the seemingly end to his role on the show and termination from the job. It's precisely following this day of filming when Tyra Perry knew that Dixon's character fate was to be decided that Perry invited Dixon to his trailer for drinks. Dixon knew that refusing meant the end of his career, so he accepted. It was there on the very same day that Perry dialed up the harassment to a new level. Tyler Perry asked Derek Dixon point blank, "Are you attracted to me?" and demanded Dixon answer. Plaintiff reiterated the same way he did at the first assault by skirting the question. Dixon told Perry that Dixon wasn't that or looking for anything. Perry's incessant probing did not stop. Perry continued to talk about how good looking and Dixon was, and that plaintiff was wasting his looks by not being free and having sex. Dixon repeatedly reflected these comments with neutral answers, constantly looking for ways to avoid Tyler Perry's interrogation, while continuing to worry about his future at the Oval. After enduring the harassment and doing his best to dodge the situation, Mr. Dixon got up and to exchange goodbyes. And as Dixon was leaving Perry's trailer, Perry got up and pinned Dixon against the wall. God damn. Perry began aggressively groping Dixon's buttocks in sexual motion. Damn. Tyler Perry began reaching down towards Dixon's buttocks and groped Dixon's butt in a strong and sexual manner that could have not been an accident. Dixon stood frozen in horror and could not reciprocate or fight back. All Dixon could do was let his body go cold and limp. That is such a raw response, though. I won't lie to you. That is a raw response. That you can go limp as well. You know, so this gonna be it's gonna be interesting. That's wild. Seeing that Dixon had no desire in Perry told Dixon that he was drunk and asked Dixon to leave the trailer. As soon as Dixon left the trailer following Perry's violent assault, Dixon became severely nauseous and extremely anxious about his job, career, livelihood. Dixon felt trapped within the confines of the studio, quarantine. There was still another shoot the next day. Dixon called his friend Justin Brandt on the phone, told him everything that happened, was unaware of any human resources representative who could help, who could report the assault. Plaintiff had no one to turn to and nowhere to go save him from Perry's aggressive sexual harassment and exploitation. The next day, Perry acted like nothing happened, and this time he did not even offer Miss Dixon an apology. So he's getting worse. He ain't gonna offer you an apology because he's testing you every single time. He's testing your boundaries. Following this exchange, Dixon began to avoid Perry as much as possible. However, Dixon still felt the need to answer Perry's incessant text messages, so he changed his approach. Dixon often pretended to be asleep to avoid being harassed by Perry. However, Perry persisted by texting Dixon the following message: "Are you awake? Stop ignoring me. You're awake, Derek. Wake up. I know you're not sleeping and give me attention." Damn, he is needy. In around early 2020, Perry invited Dixon and other actors to the Oval on a car trip to Perry's personal island in Bahamas. Now, you know, Dixon knew, as did everyone else on the show, that the client's gone on his trip might cause Perry to erase you from the show. Dixon agreed to go, knowing that the whole cast was going to be there. One night while in Perry's private island in Bahamas, the cast was having a party. At the end of the night, Perry told Dixon that he wanted to talk to him. Dixon was caught off guard. At this point, you don't need to be caught off guard because the brother is actually moving every single time towards you. You know what I'm saying to you? Dixon knew he could not refuse the drinks, otherwise he might risk upsetting Mr. Perry. Instead, Dixon tried to stay in control and sip drinks slowly. Tyler Perry did not control himself. He drank until it was clear that his alcohol made him bold and sexually aggressive. Perry told Dixon that he wanted a relationship with someone who could be emotionally and sexually available to him, but was also permissive of Perry having his own relationship with someone else. Perry said he could see himself having a type of relationship with Dixon. Perry says that Dixon needed to be with someone rich because Dixon liked nice things. Perry told Dixon that he was watching all the cast as they laid out in the sun with tannin oil. Perry continued raving about how seeing Dixon greased up like that was driving him crazy. Mercies of God. Tyler Perry said that he would have burnt the whole island down if one of the other actors or anyone else from the group had touched Dixon that night. Eesh. At that point, he once again aggressively seized Dixon and groped his buttocks. Dixon once again did not reciprocate and froze up. Perry got the message and told Dixon to go to bed. Dixon was terrified and could barely sleep. From that moment on, Perry became extremely frustrated and possessive. Perry wanted desperately for Dixon to be attracted to him, but Dixon was not. In one exchange, Perry sent pictures of himself from Bahamas to Dixon. Dixon responded that the water looked nice. Perry got upset that Dixon did not see the stud in the picture and instead focused on the water. Perry called Dixon an asshole for laughing out loud. Perry's desire for Dixon to call him a stud. Oh, boy. It can go on for ages. On or around 18th October 2020, the following Dixon returned from the Bahamas. Perry told Dixon that he was jealous that Dixon was giving too much attention to other men. Perry stated that Dixon was being too much of a social butterfly and he would need Dixon to sit still this week. Boy, that's how he starts the isolation attempts, boy. You start being isolated. Further attempting to exercise his influence over Dixon's interaction with other men, Perry continued to wield his position as Dixon's boss, demanding sexual attention in exchange for his continued employment. The text message said, "You know how to cook, Derek? It's spaghetti cake. I'm so drunk right now, talking doo-doo." Okay, cool. Dixon, out of the fear of unknown future of his career, continued to give Perry the social attention he demanded. Even though Dixon would constantly get sexual harassed, on several occasions, Perry would text Dixon while drunk. In one exchange, Perry told Dixon, "You know what? I cook." Derek then proceeds, "I'm so drunk, talking ish." December 2020, Dixon began feeling depleted due to Perry's continued pattern of sexual harassment. The assaults and harassment began manifesting in physical health. Mr. Dixon had no one to turn to. Dixon visited a physician who indicated that Dixon's exhibited severe symptoms of acute stress, insomnia, stomach issues, and dangerously low cortisol levels due to sexual harassment and assaults. The physician prescribed Zoloft, an antidepressant for Dixon's ailments. Boy, he don't need no drugs. He needs to get out of that situation. How are drugs going to help him? If the very thing is that he's being pressured, sexually harassed in a workplace, him taking antidepressants is not going to help him. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? So, this ain't gonna help you, bro. The sexual harassment continued through the beginning of 2021. Perry continued sending Dixon unsolicited photos of Dixon's body for the set of the Oval, which comments such as, "Oh my, looks thick. Not know the weight difference. I can see it. Thick Derek. Okay, good. Nope, I can't deal with thick Derek. Da, 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 da. I don't even want to read the rest of it. It's annoying." Then Perry texts him, "I know you smell the roses more." He's like, "You are a rose, but you're so blocked that you refuse to be smelled or opened." He said, "This is sweet. I'm working on it. I'm really scared that I'm going to waste my life worrying." He said, been there. Stop somewhere in my late 30s and 40s. Boy, boy, boy. Mm-mm. And then it said, Derek, what I mean by this is that you're so beautiful. When you're finally able to unlock your mind, you're going to make that person crazy. Crazy in a good way. Dixon responded, "As long as my face doesn't get messed up, as long as it doesn't leave a mark." I don't know what that means, but let's move on from that. After several weeks of unreciprocated sexual innuendos and demands for attention, Perry lashed out at Dixon on set and asked if he needed to punch Dixon in the stomach for Dixon to act the way that Perry envisaged in the scene. This exchange was highly tense. Perry's reaction stunned several cast members. Actors on set consoled Dixon for the abrasive interaction, confused as to why Perry overreacted in such a manner, but Dixon knew that Perry was lashing out due to his frustration and the lack of attention Dixon was giving him. And around June 4th, 2021, so it's a whole year, boy, Perry invited Dixon to his house to spend some time together and discuss the pilot of losing it. Although Dixon hesitated, he feared the consequences of disappointing Perry and believed once losing it was a big show, he would be freed from under the clutch of Perry. How? 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 You know what I mean? During the visit, Perry made several alcoholic beverages. But like I said, when you're in fear, you make dumb stuff. You do dumb stuff. When you're in fear, you do things that are contrary to what you actually want to do. And he wasn't fair, so I have to be fair to him. But during this visit, Perry made several alcoholic beverages for himself and demanded to know why Dixon was not having sex with anyone. Perry probed further about Dixon's life, insisting that the two were becoming increasingly drunk and was starting to end the night. Perry then led Dixon to a guest house where a guest bedroom was. Dixon will be staying there at night. Instead of the guest bedroom, Perry motioned to Dixon to come see a weight monitor that he had. Perry told Dixon that for the monitor to work, Dixon would need to step on the monitor, wearing only his underwear again, and pushed Dixon to try it out. Dixon tried to avoid uncomfortable situation but decided it was better to comply and hurry to bed than wait for the alternative at that point. After weighing himself, Dixon walked towards the guest bedroom, followed by Perry, who then asked Dixon for a good night hug. Rather than arguing, Dixon complied, and at which point Perry reached out and yanked Dixon's underwear down from behind. Perry then began to vigorously grope and play with his buttocks. Dixon was naked, stunned, and seized by a tremendous fear. Dixon started to tell Perry that he did not want his underwear down, that Dixon didn't want to be naked, and that Dixon didn't want this. Dixon quickly reached out to pull his underwear back up. As soon as he did, Perry grabbed reached his arm with a tight grip and held fast. Terry told Dixon to relax and just to let it happen. And Perry wasn't going to hurt. God damn. It's a Perry. Yeah, it's peak. It's peak. Dixon's anxiety rapidly escalated, thinking that might soon be. Dixon was not sure what to do, and his breath shortened. Perry ignored Dixon's refusal and held Dixon's hand fast, preventing him from reaching from his underwear. Dixon was naked and being groped by a large, drunk, and frustrated 6'5" man who had Dixon in his clutches. Dixon did not know if he was going to have to get into a physical fight, but he knew that any efforts to fight back were hopeless. Perry had armed security at the gate, was much larger than Dixon, and told Dixon he had several guns in the home. Dixon was desperate for a way out and remarked that he couldn't do anything sexual because he was so hungry. Attempting to change the conversation, Dixon asked, "Is there any food up here?" which prompted Perry to withdraw and order a pizza. Dixon, in fear of his safety, followed Perry into the main house to eat the pizza. Afterwards, Dixon returned to the guest house and, unable to lock the bedroom door, locked himself in the guest room, bathroom, and slept on the floor. Dixon then attempted to contact some close friends about the incident. The following morning, Dixon realized that he had left his car keys in the main house, and upon going to retrieve them, encountered Perry. Perry told Dixon that last time incident was why the two shouldn't drink together, and the previous night's incident shouldn't have happened. Dixon responded, "Oh, so that's my fault." To which Perry said, No. I'm just saying that that shouldn't have happened and I drank too much." Attempted to excuse himself from grabbing Dixon's butt, groping Dixon, and attempted to have sex with Dixon against his will. At this point, Dixon left Perry's home uncontrollably shaking and contacted his friends to discuss the unspeakable horror the night before. That's nasty work, and I'm sorry you had to go through that, bro. The next several days, June 6, 2021, Perry texted and called Dixon incessantly with messages asking Dixon to call him or answer his phone calls. Finally, Dixon answered, at which point Perry began to apologize, blaming the testosterone supplements he was taking at the time. God, when people want to abuse you, they will come up with some nonsense, boy. Dixon answered, at which point Perry began to apologize, blaming the testosterone supplements he was taking at the time. Perry had confided in Dixon about these supplements in past messages and decided to use them as a scapegoat for his actions. Dixon emphasized that he was not okay with what happened and they had never asked for anything, to which Perry replied, "I know, that's why I like you." Bomber clot! Perry further attempted to rectify his misconduct by inviting Dixon on a yacht trip, telling Dixon that Perry was for sure going to make Dixon's pilot. Dixon realized that Perry was offering to make losing it to effectively silence Dixon. Perry sent text messages trying to arrange for Dixon to come on his yacht with another person so that Dixon would feel more comfortable. Dixon responded that he would not be aboard the yacht and refused Perry's invitation. Okay, yeah. After Dixon refused to go on the yacht, Perry did not text Dixon for 5 months. Sensing that Dixon was upset, Perry called Dixon once to update him that Perry was looking for a director for the pilot. During this 5-month period, Dixon was regularly in therapy. He suffered from severe depression, anxiety, stomach pains, nausea, resulting in new prescription for another antidepressant. Dixon was diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder, and his therapist recommended that he seek outpatient treatment, costing up to $20,000, a price too high for Dixon at the time. During that time, Dixon began speaking with people about sexual assault and was assessing his rights. As soon as Perry realized Dixon was done talking to him, Dixon got a message from Perry's fixers. Perry's fixers contacted Dixon, indicating Dick's character in Oval, the one who was shot, would be returning with a new storyline next season, and Dixon was receiving a graduated raise from $10,000 episode to $16,000. No wonder why you didn't want to leave. Yeah, because that kind of money, you don't get that kind of money easy. $10,000 a session. I ain't gonna lie to you. I said the exact same thing. In my head, I'm saying the exact same thing. The attorney said that Christmas came early for Dixon because he was doing a good job at the Oval. However, they told Dixon he was forbidden for letting customers know about the raise because nobody other than him would receive a similar pay rise. Lastly, the fixers told Dixon that Perry wanted to buy the right to produce a pilot of losing it and planned to spend up to $1 million producing the pilot. Dixon immediately knew why he was getting his raise and why the pilot was being produced. He knew he could keep the money and the job or complain about sexual harassment, but not both. The situation facing Dixon presented a challenging decision that left him unable to take any action or make any decision. The prospect of sexual assault and harassment become public and dealing with Perry's high-paid attorneys was daunting. Perry had significant resources, whereas Dixon did not. Dixon's goals of working as an actor and becoming discovered for his talents might be jeopardized. In what an extremely difficult decision, Dixon bowed to the pressure of the fear of losing his livelihood and hopes of advancing his career. Dixon decided to return to the set and have his pilot produced. He insisted, however, that he decided to put safeguards in place between himself and Mr. Perry. In or around November 21, Dixon returned to the shoot of Oval. It is when he saw Perry for the first time since 2021. And Dixon suffered a panic attack in his trailer, prompting another actor to calm Dixon down. Seeing that Dixon was so upset, Perry knew he had to up the ante to ensure Dixon's silence. Perry began periodically texting plaintiff regarding the production of the pilot of losing it to string Dixon along. Soon after, Dixon received a call from a member of Perry's production team telling him that they would consider shooting Dixon's pilot in the coming fall of 2021. Dixon was desperate for the good news, given the uncertainty surrounding his finances and concern about his future. On or around March 4th, 2022. Dixon signed a literary purchase agreement for the pilot, giving the rights of the series to the defendant, TPS. Dixon was unaware of TPS pre-existing television contracts with Viacom CBS, now known as Paramount Global, which would later prevent the sale of Dixon's show to any media outlets or streaming services for 2 years. On around 2021, 21st March 2022, shortly after seeing each other on the set of the Oval, Dixon and Perry began shooting the pilot. Perry called Dixon following the shoot, telling him that the show would be a net 2 to 3 million per episode and run for 2 seasons guaranteed. Perry purchased the rights to losing it from Dixon, but did not try to sell it to any network. In fact, Perry was under contract with Viacom CBS, preventing him from selling Dixon's show for an additional 2 years following the purchase. In other words, Perry spent the money shooting a pilot for a show and then purchasing the rights to it, knowing that Perry could not sell the show for 2 years. Clearly, this was done for ulterior motive of silencing Mr. Dixon. As it turns out, Perry had no intention of ever producing losing it. Perry never made any effort to sell the show or shop it. Perry was only using the show as a quid pro quo to Dixon, holding its production over Dixon's head like a sword of Damocles. On around 9th April 2022, to his surprise, plaintiff received a script for another season of The Oval, in which plaintiff character, originally written as a grocery store clerk, would play a male prostitute being pursued by a pimp. His character scenes and stories shared eerie similarities between Perry pursuit of Dixon. Damn, I mean, he be writing from truth. That is scary behavior. That is scary behavior. Scary behavior. Woo. While it's not surprising that one of Perry's characters would end up this way, the timing of the change to Dixon was a very clear message. As Dixon continued to read through his scripts, he started to notice that Perry included lines that taken directly from things that Perry and Dixon spoke about. Perry started to base the script on real life and made it personal. That's why some of his scripts are nasty. I know it says some of his scripts. Honestly, I don't like some of his stuff. Perry wrote that about Dixon, that I don't like any of my B's word running away. He's making good money for me. In around April 2022, before beginning to shoot the next season of Oval, Perry called Dixon to discuss June 2021 sexual assault. On the phone call, Perry lectured Dixon about how Dixon was overreacting to sexual assault because of the prior sexual assault in Dixon's life. So he had prior Dixon had experienced this. Because listen, these people know exactly how to target you. They look for people who have gone through certain things like this already, because often the people who've had their boundaries broken, oftentimes haven't done the healing work yet to make sure that they've got they to make sure that that the person hasn't got good boundaries, so they can't actually stand up for themselves properly. So yeah. In other words, Perry blamed Dixon for the sexual assault, claiming that Perry felt that Dixon's no was really a yes because Dixon did not say no strongly enough. Jeez. So not to jeopardize his employment with defendants Perry and TPS, Dixon dismissed the conversation, especially due to allegedly a pending sale of his show to a major broadcasting company. On around October 28, 2022, after filming a full season of The Oval, Perry told Dixon that despite shooting a pilot, it could take a while to place, and that Perry couldn't do any other television series until his deal was up with Viacom, which would take about 2 years. In or around January 2023, plaintiff indicated that he was moving to Santa Monica. He did so, put some distance between himself and Perry, and Tyler Perry replied that he was glad to hear Dixon was moving away and asked Dixon if Dixon's no was stronger before than when he left. Perry reiterated that Dixon should have a strong no and make it clear when he said no. This was Perry's way of once again referring to 2021 of Dixon, making it clear that Perry felt no remorse for assaulting Dixon against his will. Dixon remained calm, considering those triggering comments because he needed Perry to help him with his dreams of producing a show, because Dixon was still a regular actor on the Oval. Even after Dixon moved to California, the quid pro quo harassment attempts to cover up the sexual by promising a show continued. Perry would call Dixon, who felt obligated to pick up Perry's phone calls and respond to text messages. These conversations would often start about work and men's businesses relationship, and then transition further about Dixon's life, adding to Dixon's trauma and forcing him to relive this assault. Perry continued to envelop Dixon in his feeling of reliance and justify the assault that happened. Perry would call Dixon and say, "You will understand what you have. You will understand when you have a hit show," and in the same breath referred to by saying, "I'm so glad we're past that." Dixon knew that he had to just hold his tongue because Perry was still employing Dixon. On or around October 2023, Tyler Perry finally contacted Dixon and indicating that he was going to be finished with his Paramount Global contract in 2024 January, and he would be able to start working on selling Losing It. Perry was just hoping that the statute of limitations would run on Dixon's sexual assault claims before closing the door on Dixon's hope and on a quid pro quo that Perry offered for Dixon's silence. But is there statute of limitations? I thought it was long. It's not. Is it 2 years? I guess. In the same conversation where they were talking about Perry started to do things with Losing It, Tyler Perry also asked Dixon who he was having sex with. Perry further pushed for details again, asking Dixon if he was the giver or the receiver, or plaintiff used protection and prep when engaging in such acts. Perry continued to probe other intimate details about Dixon's life. Perry again told Dixon that Perry wants a partner with whom he can have emotional and sexual relationships, but goes back to their partner at the end of the day. In December 2023, now we've got Kristen Keys, another actor who worked for Tyler Perry prior to Dixon's employment, posted a video on social media platforms detailing his with an anonymous Black Hollywood billionaire, which Dixon pieced together and believes to be Tyler Perry. Yeah, 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 yeah. 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 It's nasty work. This is nasty work. Dixon heard Mr. Key's account and saw that Perry had been engaged in his conduct as other actors. Just like the interactions described by Mr. Keys, Perry would get drunk, climb into Dixon's bed, and start fondling Dixon's buttocks. Dixon wanted to share his experience with the media to prevent other actors from being abused by the hands of Perry. Around this time, Perry called Dixon, indicating that he really wanted to find a home for Dixon's television series, again perpetuating the quid pro quo after the sexual assault to keep Dixon and his claims at bay. Then in January 2024, Perry told Dixon to begin working on a pitch deck for investors for the pilot. Despite having 8 episodes written, Perry only produced 1, claiming that the president of his company, Michelle Sneed, conveniently misplaced $1 million that were going to be used for the show. During this time, Perry further solicited Dixon's assistance with other films and projects that Tyler Perry was working on. Once again, Dixon was in a position where he couldn't say no. In around March 2024, Tyler Perry indicated to Terry Dixon that the individual who was meant to pitch the pilot became depressed and could no longer pitch the show. This was another excuse for the fact that Tyler Perry never liked the show and never intended to sell it. Dixon did not get angry and allowed Perry more time to figure things out for the show. Mistakenly sensing that Dixon had forgiven him, Perry started back up with the harassment. Damn, this brother don't give in. You'd think he would learn his lesson, but he won't because he's an abuser. According to the documents. According to the documents, he's an abuser. And like you see, like when someone makes a mistake and they do something stupid, that's something. But this is a typical mark of an abuser. Persistence. Mistakenly sensing that Dixon had forgiven him, Perry started out with the harassment. Perry continued to harass Dixon, who was still working on the Oval, and who was still waiting eagerly for Perry to sell Losing It. Perry would tell Dixon that he loved Dixon, and Dixon should be living his life, and that Dixon should be having more. Perry even indicated that he would send Dixon's show to Peter Friedlander at Netflix, but all this was just an attempt to remind Dixon of the sword of the Holocaust hanging over his neck. Later, Perry told Dixon that Netflix turned the show down. Dixon was never contacted by any individual Netflix regarding the show, and no sale ever materialized. And around June of 2024, Perry, sensing that Dixon was getting frustrated about this show not getting off the ground and still concerned about assault being made public, offered Dixon a position as a writer on Perry's shows, indicating that he needed a replacement to continue writing. So only when Dixon woke up and realized that Perry was never going to be serious about helping Dixon. Perry was only going to do things for Dixon if Dixon played along with their sexual harassment and assault. Perry was only interested in preventing Dixon from exposing the dark side to Tyler Perry. Perry only cared that people will still view him as a victim he once was, even now as he took shape as a victimizer. Dixon became sick to the stomach. Rather than continue down his path, Dixon took the heroic step of reporting the sexual harassment to the EEOC. After reporting the sexual harassment, defendants did not make any investigations into the complaint and did not take any steps to prevent further harassment from happening. Because defendants took no action to prevent further assault or harassment, Dixon had to quit his job working on the last season of The Oval. Dixon did so even though he was under contract to finish filming and stood to make close to $400K. Dixon did not want to be sexually harassed or placed in the danger of sexual assault again. Defendant then retaliated against Dixon. Defendant told Dixon that if he quit and told the other actors why he quit, he would be in a breach of his contract. Defendants told Dixon that only way was to portray his departure from the show as a medical leave to emotional distress caused by harassment. The leave of absence was to be paid medical leave. Instead, defendant made a leave of absence unpaid and therefore terminated plaintiff's employment, causing Dixon additional loss of income and an insult. Damn, he's playing hardball. God damn. That is nasty work. That is nasty work. Jeez. Oof. Let me skip past. I think that's pretty much it. Damn. Boy. Well, I think I think that's much we're gonna read. Yeah, we'll leave the rest. But boy, let me tell you this now. This is crazy. Well, listen, we spent an hour reading this. Let me know your thoughts. I don't think there's anything more to say about this. I just think it's nasty work on behalf of TP. If this turns out to be true, yeah, man. That's nasty, man. You know what I mean? Like that's horrible stuff to link people in. You know, abusing the power that you have and taking advantage of people. It's nasty work, bro. There was something coming through. I told you, like there was something coming through. We saw it with Christian Keys, and we were thinking it might be TP, but I think he came out and said it wasn't TP, but yeah, it was too late. Woo! All right. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, click on that bell button for notifications. Yeah. Eesh. It's nasty work, boy. All right. Appreciate you guys. Still lots of it. We'll see you again soon.